I hate school. As young as I can remember, I just really didn't like school. The way they taught, why they taught, the way we learned, I just thought it was all a pile of rubbish. And if you were to ask me, I was quite envious of a lot of people in my classes, especially these kids that were so smart, they could take information in so quick and display it back onto a piece of paper. It blew my mind, and I was always very impressed by these kids because I could barely get anything onto paper. Up until I was probably about 10, I probably couldn't even put my name on a piece of paper. And if I had to write the date on my page, I'd have to look up and then come and then look up. It was so slow, neck pain. Trust me, I was just so rubbish by displaying things on a piece of paper. If I'm gonna be completely honest, I probably 2 years worth over my whole school life actually concentrating, right? Actually doing anything within class, right? So I might have 1 month here, 1 week there. You compile that whole over from me being like 5 all the way up to end of college 18. Yeah, probably about 2 years. A lot of time I spent out of school, whether that be not being able to go to school or bunking or not even just going to class, on certain days. And then even when I was in class, I was trying to avoid work at all costs. I got told a lot of the times that I would regret doing what I was doing. And honestly, I don't. I regret some things, but honestly, not caring for school was probably the best thing I ever did. And I'll explain why. In school, I was bad at English. So naturally, my relationship with my English teacher at any given time was really difficult for them because I was just so bad at it that I don't think they ever knew how to help me. In art, it was kind of the same situation, not because I was bad at art, but that I would always say the art is in the eye of the beholder, right? And when they would teach me something else, I'd just draw something else. And they'd get quite annoyed that I'm not learning the certain methods and certain things. And I'm like, oh, it's art, man. You don't need to complicate it that much. It doesn't need to be that deep. And ICT was the worst because I was horrific at ICT. And I remember the teacher I had, I really, really, really didn't get along with him. And I think I spent all about 2 lessons in an ICT lesson, my whole of my secondary school life. 2 lessons, and I never stepped foot in there again. And now I sit here writing scripts, editing, learning ICT, and drawing. It's quite ironic for probably 3 of the biggest lessons that I absolutely hated. If you would have told me back then I'd be this person now, I'd be like, you are hilarious, no way. But why do I love these things now but hate them in school? It's because of the box. There's a big box. When it comes to school, you get put in a box and you cannot express outside of that box because it is not being able to be marked properly. In school, I'd be in an English class and I'd see a kid next to me writing out all these long bits of information, stuff like that. And I think, wow, that is well impressive. I'm so dumb compared to that kid, right? And I was. Within the contents of the box that the school puts you in. But I promise you now that if you put me next to any kid I went to school, smart, dumb, whatever, on the contents of actual creativity, I'd blow them out of the water every single time. I think, honestly, that is because I just never cared for the box. I never cared for it. And that is a plus. Now, I talked about things that I regret. Now, if I could go back and know what I know now, I'd drop out of school. I would drop out. I'd try so hard to drop out of school. I would go into these things and teach myself how to do these things. Because not all teachers, but a lot of teachers when they get in to teaching, they love it. They want to help, they want to teach. Now, the culture of London, a lot of kids don't appreciate education, right? Because it's forced upon them, it's given to them, and at no cost. So the culture for many kids here is to just say, screw a teacher, go away, I'll do what I want. Guess a bit like myself, but you have a lot of kids that are rude, which I never was, a lot of kids that are just terrible, right? And so you have this teacher that comes in when they start, and over the years they kind of drop in motivation to care, and they see so many people fail. I think it dampers their motivation to even help. So you end up with a lot of teachers that are in their 40s, and they just do not care about the students in front of them because they've been hit so many times and their spirit is just gone. Now, teaching yourself is not an easy thing to do, right? You can't ask someone that knows what they're doing because you're the person that's teaching yourself. You don't know everything, and it's hard to teach yourself. But I would argue that teaching yourself and something you love is always going to be better than someone teaching you something that they don't even care to teach you anymore. By the end of the years I would spend in that school, we would have different supply teachers, substitute teachers every single week, because teachers they would come and they would leave because they realised how terrible it was at our school. And one of the worst memories that I ever had in school was a teacher, and she was horrendous. A lot of kids would put her as a very strict teacher, but she was fair. And I probably would have put her there as well, honestly, at most times. Because I've had a few fair teachers that were firm but fair, is the saying. And I had great respect for those teachers. But this one, she really, I don't know, she never came and said sorry to me or nothing, which was a big joke, I'll be honest. But I remember that was kind of the draw point for me. And I think because of that situation, I don't think I ever went back to school. It was kind of the draw point for me. Basically, what happened was I got set homework by this teacher. Now, bear in mind, over 5 years in secondary school, I may have done about 4 pieces of homework. I was always able to whittle my way out, or the teacher just didn't care, honestly. But about 5 pieces of homework in my whole, all of my years of every class. I never did homework. I'd always have an argument for it, and I thought it was ridiculous. Anyway, this teacher has set me homework to write a full page of whatever nonsense they want me to write. And I did this, but I didn't do quite a good job. I probably filled up maybe 60% of a page, right? It wasn't a full page. Now, bear in mind, my dad has cancer at the time, and I'll be honest, school is not really for me. I was with my dad as much as I could be. Now, the teachers knew this, all of them. So, they knew that I didn't care about homework. There would be, other teachers that would actually specifically say to me is like, don't worry about the homework. I know you got better things to do, right? Anyway, I did this homework nevertheless on my break time because I was with my dad all weekend or whatnot. And so I would come and I'd be quite happy with what I did within the break. Bear in mind, I don't do homework. Very rare for me. And I hand this book to her, and she opens it up and she picks up the corner of this book like this, and she was like, "This is rubbish." And she threw it across the table. And I just remember thinking to myself, oh my gosh, I'm gonna go berserk. I got so angry. And I didn't care. Because I was so upset in general. Like, it was like, at this point, I know my dad's gonna die. I know he's gonna die. And all this anger built up in me, and it's like I didn't have the energies to facilitate this anger. So I just walked away. I walked out of school that day, and I never came back. I never came back. Not long after that day, my dad passed away, and I never went back to school. I did for my GCSEs, and that was it. That was it. You know, there's a saying by Charles Darwin, right? If you judge a fish by the ability it has to climb a tree, it always feel like an idiot, right? And I've always felt like that. But the thing is, I believed that I was this fish, but I also believed that I should still be able to climb this tree. So I knew I was a fish all along, but I still convinced myself, so what? I'm still going to climb that tree. And obviously, I did a pretty good job at climbing this tree, even as a fish. And I don't think that it's impossible, but I do think that there is a limitation on how much the fish can climb the tree. And I know that sounds maybe a bit confusing, and it's probably just part of my stubbornness, really. But when I got out of school, I realised that school is this box, man. And I met so many people that, again, are so smart and so intelligent and able to take information and display it on a piece of paper. And I'd meet these people, and I was able to have a bit more of a human connection to talk to them about things. And it's like there was this whole world they had no understanding of. And that's when it hit me. You know, this whole time whilst my peers had been in this box, understanding this box so well, I'd never even been in it. And when I was looking into this box, I was seeing the abilities of them from school, what they could do in all types of things within school. And whilst, I'd been looking into this box, I was outside of it, and I was swimming around like, oh, God, I wish I could be in that box. Wish I could be in there, but I never could. And realizing that now, this box is popped for them a little bit, right? They're still in the confines of this so-called box, but they're scared to walk outside of it. Whereas I've been in there this whole time, it was like I could reach out my hand and tell them to come with me, because I felt like that was my job, to help people like that, because I know how much it sucked for me to be in school and not have that helping hand to help me inside the box. I've done this with a few people in my life where I've helped them explore outside the box. Let's get a count of how many times I'll say box. But the reality is when you've been conditioned to think a certain way most of your life, it's very hard to come out of that, right? Very, very hard. And it doesn't just apply to school, right? The way you are brought up, the culture you're in, the morals you're taught, you kind of, it's very hard to come out of those things. And school is no exception. So I find that even if I can get someone out of the box for a mild second, they always hop back in, because that's what they're taught to. It's kind of like brainwashing, but they don't really understand it. There was an experiment done by whoever knows. This might not even be true, but I'm just going to use it anyway. There's a group of monkeys, bananas at the top of a tree. A monkey runs up to the top of the tree to grab the banana, and he gets shot, right? Like a BB gun. He drops back down. They take the rest of the monkeys away, and they bring more monkeys in. Right, this one's been shot, right? He jumps up. When a new monkey jumps up, he gets shot. They bring him down. They take the rest of the monkeys away, and they bring him back in. And they do this, and they keep doing this until they've got all the monkeys that have been shot, and they don't jump for it. And now they bring in one monkey at a time, they take one that's been shot. Now the monkey is just listening to the 3 other monkeys not to jump up. He doesn't know why, but he's doing it anyway. And they switch out and they switch out. And finally they have 4 monkeys there that will not jump for the banana, but they don't know why. And I think that's what school does. We're all doing things, we're all learning things and whatnot, but we don't know why. Anyway, I hate school. Not all about it is bad. I did learn a lot from it, and I think if done right, it would actually be an amazing place. But I think nowadays you have so many teachers that all they want to do is walk into a classroom, put some paper on a sheet in front of you, ask you to do it, or show a video or whatnot, or show you a rubbish slide, and then just tell you to fill out whatever you've just seen. There is no, I don't need a teacher for that. You know, you can email me a PowerPoint and some things to fill out, and I can do that by myself. I don't need a teacher for that. And so I think that's what most of teaching is nowadays, and that's why it's not cared for or respected. And that's not of the teacher's fault. That is about how we test our kids on their intelligence and what they're learning and stuff like this. How we do our tests is why we get taught the way we do, because we're just taught to pass a test, not to actually educate, not to actually learn. So yeah, if you feel like you're in this box and you want to get out, try to understand that this box is not there. It's a lie been told by our schools. It's a massive lie. It is not there. Touch it. I promise you, it fades. And if you are someone that swims outside the box, just like myself, understand that although great, you've got a lot of area to explore and do whatever you want, understand that there are very important things within this box, so don't neglect it fully. You know, there is a lot of things within there that you can take and draw from that will help you. You know, this box wasn't made purely for the soul of like, oh, we need to keep him here. No, there are very important things in there as well, and you'd be silly to not understand that there are things in the box, aka school, that is very important to learn. And if you can take advantage of those things when you swim about, you'll be able to explore a lot more. So yeah, I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.